It's kind of scary knowing that something like that happens this close to where I live.
It's a little eerie, little scary.
For anyone to lose their life for whatever the reason is, and it's really sad because it's a community that we try to stay close,
Diving in the world of crime, the story that surrounds the death of Patricia Spivey keeps one wondering how an argument could lead to shooting your spouse, the person who's supposed to be your better half. Patricia's story began attracting newfound attention thanks to a viral clip from Renard Spivey's time as a TV bailiff transitioning to the events that followed.
Child in my
People
own
in
house.
love, they yell at each other all the time.
Oh, that's true. Ask him, he's been married for how long?
Over 27 years.
Over 27
Look at him though,
years.
he look mad. You don't look happy, brother. You don't look happy.
He's very happy.
A former TV show bailiff and current Harris County deputy charged with his wife's murder now ordered not to attend her funeral.
This case has generated many reactions as people wonder what could have led to this conclusion. I know while watching you might already have questions as what happened, who is the victim, how did the case end? These and many more questions will be answered throughout the video. 52-year-old Patricia Ann Marshall Spivey was a quiet, living, and gentle woman. She was described as a vivacious and gregarious person who maintained a healthy relationship with her friends and close relatives. It was known she had been in contact with most of them shortly before her murder. Patricia's daughter Patrina Marshall told ABC 13, "She was my cushion when things were hard, my friend when I needed to vent, my hands when I needed help, but most of all, that woman is my mother." Patricia was also described as a well-fit woman who highly valued maintaining her physical fitness. Now, with this little bit of information, can you picture how loving and energetic this woman actually was? She was social and was loved by virtually everybody she met. But as we all know, life is not always perfect and takes unexpected turns at some point. Patricia had no idea what turn her life was soon to take. According to reports, Patricia had quite an unhappy marriage. It's heartbreaking that she died due to the effects of this unhealthy marriage. Her death was a result of domestic violence taken too far. Could you imagine getting killed by your significant other, the person sharing a home and a bed with you? Murder should never be the option. However, that was exactly what happened to Patricia Spivey. It began with a slight argument between Patricia and her husband Renard. The quarreling started Saturday night, the 27th of July 2019, a night that eventually grew to be one of the longest nights the family ever had, including Renard. After a while, there was a prolonged silence in the Spivey house, a signal that something might have gone completely wrong. The silence broke around 3 a.m. when the police responded to a domestic disturbance call made by Renard. That is when police officials arrived to the couple's residence in Briscoe Street, Southeast Houston, to find Renard suffering from a gunshot wound in the leg, while inside the master room's closet, officials discovered Patricia's lifeless body laying on the floor. 63-year-old Renard Leon Spivey was hired as a detention officer in 1996 and became a deputy in 1998. Renard worked as a model, actor, and was a bailiff on Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez from 2012 to 2016. When he wasn't on TV, he worked as a deputy for the Harris County Sheriff's Department in Houston, Texas. For some time, both family and friends noted the marriage duo had been experiencing relationship issues. Something was driving a wedge between them, causing them to drift apart from one another. On the day of the murder, Renard was claiming that Patricia had shot him in the leg first, and he was simply reacting in self-defense. Almost immediately, Renard became the one and only suspect to Patricia's homicide. Being with her that night, as well as not having the crime scene corroborate the story, he told the responding officers.
When he's unconscious, not breathing normally, I would have been there to be shot, female in the chest and arm, no seem to be shot in the leg.
Renard told the dispatcher and later police that he and his wife had been arguing all day, and they eventually found themselves tussling with the gun, and then he accidentally shot her. After shooting Patricia, Renard allegedly tried his best to revive her by performing chest compressions for about 20 to 30 minutes while on the phone with 911. Although his story was not believable at all, he had no previous record of domestic violence. Yet his whole story felt as if it was missing something. Authorities located 3 shell casings and Patricia's phone near her body, as well as a 9mm handgun on top of a laundry basket not too far from where her body was laying. There was basically no story he could have told to prevent becoming the main suspect in Patricia's homicide. However, Renard required medical attention, so he was taken to Ben Taub Hospital for his gunshot wound as the investigation continued. During his statement, Renard mentioned the argument he was having with Patricia was over how distant they had become from one another. At the crime scene, officers noted that Renard easily outweighed Patricia by about 100 pounds and contained a few weightlifting trophies around the house. Shortly after the homicide, investigators talked to Patricia Spivey's brother, Ezra Washington, who had said the couple had been fighting over Patricia's suspicions that Renard was possibly back on steroids or having an affair. Ezra informed the investigators that he had at least 3 separate phone conversations with Renard in the hours before the shooting, stating Renard had told him, "She's counting my pills," claiming that I'm sleeping with someone else. In Ezra's statement, it also mentioned Renard once told him that Patricia called him the Incredible Hulk, and that at some point she would make him rise up like the Incredible Hulk, and it ain't gonna be good.
And to say that and knowing what the Hulk can do in the aftermath when it's over, all the damage and chaos that the Hulk creates.
Ezra continued telling investigators he took that to mean that Renard would hurt Patricia. When they spoke, Ezra said he had told Renard that if things were that bad between the two, he should just leave. He also said, "I never thought that he'd go that far."
I should have acted on it, and that's going to eat me up for a long time, forever. But him saying that and then acting on it, I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
While investigators spoke to the couple's family members and friends, they waited on the medical examiner's autopsy report to help get a better understanding as to what truly happened on the early morning Patricia Spivey was fatally shot. The autopsy determined Patricia had been shot twice. One of the bullets had gone through her right arm's bone and the other through her heart. The examiner noted Patricia had minor bruising around her wrists, as well as noting Renard seemed right-hand dominant and was coincidentally shot on his left thigh area. The examiner's notes also mentioned the evidence in hand and Renard's statement were conflicting. Evidence indicated that 3 shots were fired in the closet and Patricia was shot twice, which is inconsistent with Renard's statement that he accidentally shot Patricia and that the firearm accidentally discharged during a struggle between the two. On the 29th of July 2019, the day following the monstrous homicide, Renard was arrested and booked into jail for the suspicion of murdering his wife, Patricia Ann Marshall Spivey. Prosecutors had initially asked for Renard's bail to be set to $100,000 because they believed he was a danger to the community as well as a flight risk. However, shortly after, on Wednesday the 31st of July of that year, he was released on a $50,000 bond. Renard was mandated to surrender his passport, stay in Texas, and obliged to a 3 p.m. to 9 a.m. curfew. The judge also ordered him to stay away from the victim's family, meaning he was not able to attend his wife's funeral without her family's permission. Personally, I wouldn't have been able to grant him permission to attend her funeral. I would be too furious about losing a loved one, especially someone who was such a huge beacon to her family and friends. However, some individuals are more forgiving than others. During a press conference, Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez stated, "The Harris County Sheriff's Office family extends our sincere condolences to the family of Patricia Spivey as they mourn the loss of their loved one." He then continued by saying, "I encourage all victims of domestic violence to seek assistance from law enforcement and others whom they trust. I also ask anyone who suspects a friend or loved one may be the victim of abuse to persist in helping them escape a potentially deadly situation." Throughout the investigation, it was revealed Renard was the one with fingerprints on the handgun and gunpowder residue on his hand. The former TV bailiff was found guilty of murdering his wife and is currently serving a life sentence in the Harris County Jail. As of now, not much information can be found on Renard's court transcripts. What is certain is the pain inflicted on Patricia's family, especially her daughter, will not be easily healed, but we can all hope Renard being behind bars helps the process. Now that we have gone over the death of Patricia Spivey, who was brutally murdered by her husband, what do you think about the initial argument that led to this horrible incident? Would you have been able to grant him permission to attend Patricia's funeral? If you found today's video interesting, feel free to like, share, and/or subscribe to the channel to hear more stories like this one as we continue to unravel crime events together. Thank you and have a safe day.